What's up, guys? It's your girl Squiffington back with another video for you hoes. God, I am so sorry. I think I got possessed with the ghost of Logan Paul or something. Oh no, wait. He's not dead.
Nobody should be.
Never quite know how to start these. So yeah, hi. You know I was gonna get this video out sooner than this, and pretty much after I finished the last video, I started working on this one. But other things took priority, like my job, real life stuff, went on holiday. Here's a picture of me in Prague with a Kalashnikov. It's got fuck all to do with the video, I just really like this photo. But there was one weird hiccup I kept running into regarding this installment of this series. You see, whenever I open this book to read anything new from it, my brain would do the darndest thing. You know, it's really weird. I think it's just better if I show you.
No, God! No, God, please! Please, no! 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 No!
It's weird, isn't it? See, I literally have to fight my own brain to get through this book, and I figured out the best way to get through it is to take it in small doses. Because, and I can't stress this enough, this book is pure, unadulterated trash. And I need time between each video to build up my HP to tackle the next chapter. There's only so much AIDS and stupidity I can handle in one sitting, so I'm only going to do one chapter this time, as opposed to going 2 by 2 like I originally planned. You know, I've literally ingested the content of baggies that I found on the floor at nightclubs, and this book is doing more damage to my brain. Anyway, moving on. So before I start, let's have a little catch up with what Myron's been up to over the last month or so. Last time on Myron.
Shut up, you Albanian
Not respect to minorities. What the fuck? Stop!
We got these niggas running like it's an employment line. Never ever compare that Myron dude to them fucking Jews, you motherfucker. That nigga sound like he got a 39 IQ.
This guy is totally unhinged.
And here's the thing, I'm gonna continue to roast them.
Yeah, I think I caught a little. That was a little hardcore. This is a little hardcore even for me.
I can conclude that he's also a monkey.
If you're wondering who the white dude in the top left is, that's a white supremacist. Nick Fuentes, who's the leader of a far-right movement.
Hey guys, when we speak, everyone raise your hand. Raise your hand. No. Raise your hand. Turn.
No, Nick, no, not you!
What the fuck?
I heard that some of y'all were raising the salute, so I decided to come back.
Is this the end, bro? Because we got some bad news, man. And guys, we the channel has been kicked off the YouTube partner program. There is a matrix, man. Like, I mean, we've talked about this with Andrew at length. Like, people don't want you guys to get this mess. I left a job that I truly loved to do this.
Yeah, you probably can't work for the FBI and also be like, yo, these fucking whores, man.
Guys, it's gotten to the point now where even where we shoot the location doesn't want us to stay here. Saving children, right? That was great. But saving you guys is better.
I'll be dancing on your grave, dancing on your grave, dancing on your grave, dancing on your grave.
Chapter 5 starts off strong with a quote that says, "Women hate beta males so much that they'll assume 150k plus in student loans to go to college for 4 to 8 years to qualify for a 40 to 50 hour per week soul-crushing job just to avoid marrying one." By Rollo Tomasi. Oh, Rollo. Do you remember Rollo? The self-proclaimed father of the red pill. You may remember him from when he told his young male fans to sterilize themselves and to avoid family creation in order to become high-value men, even though he doesn't know what a high-value man is.
What is your definition of a high-value man?
It doesn't matter. That's not what I was talking about in this.
Doesn't matter.
Isn't it literally what you're talking about? That's what the first part of the tweet is: how to become a high value man.
The fastest way to become a high value man is to recognize the fact that you've got sacrifices to make. Okay.
So like what is that? Telling like stories from Vietnam. Like, just say, what is a high value man? It's the first part of the tweet. What does that mean?
You tell me what a high value man is.
Geez, I wonder what him and the Red Pill have been up to recently.
In his recent stream, he read the email of somebody who told him about my personal life as well as my personal dating life.
I know about Mason. I know about the nudes. I know about a lot of stuff. Trust me, you have a lot of...
Like, why is he doing this? If he's the godfather of manosphere and all this, why not just tell people how to save their marriage and not get divorced and not get taken advantage of by a woman? Why are you out here leaking Britney's nudes on Twitter? Why is this your social media presence?
Enemies. You probably don't want to fuck with me because I know people and I know things.
And the email was framed obviously in a way to demonize me and make me look like I was a bad girlfriend.
She drove him insane and made it look like he was the bad one. She would even fight him in group hangouts in front of everyone and humiliate.
Bro, like anybody, do we have supporters of him in the chat? What is, if you're beefing with a girl, you're beefing with the girl like 20, 30 years younger than you? Is that the masculine leader? Is that the godfather of, you're beefing with the bitch.
George also talked about having my nudes on stream and even threatening to send it to my enemies and laughing about it.
Rational male, send those nudes to Undead Chronic. Should I?
Weird.
I have my own spies that tell me stuff too, and I know quite a bit about Brittany as well. Do you not think that I've dealt with like way better haters and trolls than you?
No, I don't think you have. That email was actually sent by me.
I'm not going to put my almost 22 years credibility on the line just for some dumb little bitch like this.
It seems like you just did.
Here you can see that this email that he read off on his stream with the timestamps, and you can see that it is me logged into the account.
This is in fact my email that I am logged into.
Oh,
and here's the email that I sent. And here's him replying.
And then you over here telling myself, well, you don't know who you playing with, honey. I got the nudes. You're a married man. That's another thing. You're a married man. And you are like flexing over a girl.
And out of this entire email, of all the things he could have asked me about, he could have asked questions to fact check or ask for a phone call. But no, instead, his top priority was my nudes. Asking for women's revenge porn on the internet. How creepy.
I gotta be careful, man, because then that becomes like revenge porn, and I don't want to get involved in that either.
But that didn't stop George from pestering me in email after his stream to try to get my nudes.
Just let that marinate, that this married man, the so-called godfather of the Red Pill, is begging for nudes, even though he knows it's revenge porn.
I find it absolutely hilarious how he's acting out how gross having my nudes are for his stream, doing this whole performative thing, considering that I made the entire thing up.
I know for a fact that Brittany has full-on nudes. So do I now, unfortunately.
His source for my nudes were, trust me, bro.
Yes, there are actually nudes of her out there too.
You lie. That's what I'm saying. They all lie. There was no nudes. You never had any nudes, you lying piece of shit.
I'll be dancing on your grave, moonwalking on your mausoleum.
I say we're off to a good start. So the ugly truth that Myron alluded to at the end of the last chapter is that women don't like men and never really did. Myron assumes that just because he's a walking woman repellent, that this must be the case with all men. No, Myron, it's just you and your crusty cohort. See, the thing about Myron, yeah, is physically he looks like the default character on Nintendo Wii, so he's not all the way offensive on the outside. It's the internal bitterness, and he's just so ugly on the inside. I think that's why he makes my skin crawl so much. If with his looks he had just an okay sense of humor, he'd be absolutely fine. But unfortunately, we've all seen what Myron thinks is comedy. See, he thinks money is the same thing as character development, and deep down he knows that women only talk to him because he has money, and he's just lashing out because his only friend in the world is what I'd describe as the unskippable cutscene of people. No one will ever really love him. He's too bitter and damaged. Anyway, he tells the reader not to dismiss his claims about 1/2 of the world's population not liking the other, and tells us to set aside any reservations you have for now and look at some evidence as if you were an impartial lab scientist conducting an unbiased experiment. Okay, Myron, you know what? I'll play along. I'll be a good faith Gary and take a look at your evidence. First, look at what many would consider the ultimate point and purpose we're here, and the ultimate decision that a woman can make regarding a man: reproduction. Presumably, feminists would have you believe in the horrific Stone Age patriarchal past where men would club a woman over the head, drag them back to their caves, fuck them, and make them have their children. Women did not have a choice. Go on. But the human genetic record does not indicate that, and it was quite the opposite. Most women did get to pass on their genes, whereas only a minority of men did. I bet you're wondering how Myron got the information for this genetic record. Well, here we have a number 11 at the end of the sentence, and that leads me to a list of citations in the back of the book. So link number 11 leads me to an article by the Pacific Standard titled 8,000 Years Ago, 17 Women Reproduced for Every One Man. This scientific article literally starts with "once upon a time," and I'm not gonna lie, my first instinct is to throw this whole article away. But I'm being a good faith Gary, so let's have a butcher's, shall we? Once upon a time, 4,000 to 8,000 years after humanity invented agriculture, something very strange happened to human reproduction. Across the globe, for every 17 women who were reproducing, passing on genes that are still around today, only one man did the same. It wasn't like there was a mass death of males. They were there, so what were they doing? Asks Melissa Wilson Sayers, a computational biologist at Arizona State University and a member of a group of scientists who uncovered this moment in prehistory by analyzing modern genes. Another member of the research team, a biological anthropologist, hypothesizes that somehow only a few men accumulated lots of wealth and power, leaving nothing for others. These men could then pass their wealth on to their sons, perpetuating this pattern of elitist reproduction success. Then, as more thousands of years passed, the number of men reproducing, compared to women, rose again. Maybe more and more people started being successful, Wilson Sayers says. In more recent history, as a global average, about 4 or 5 women reproduced for every 1 man. Okay, I'm gonna apologize for reading all that. Once upon a time was the first red flag, but I definitely should have stopped reading when I saw the word hypothesizes. There's a lot more word salad in this piece of writing, but that's the one that annoys me the most. And just in case I have any Myron fanboys watching this video, the Merriam-Webster dictionary defines a hypothesis as an assumption or a concession made for the sake of argument. So it's not even a theory. It's basically some bloke sitting in an office saying, you know, I reckon some men were rich and they got all the mange.
Yes, science!
And Myron, loving a bit of confirmation bias, just nodded along and went, yeah, that sounds about right. So his first piece of evidence is, trust me, bro. And he uses this piece of text to prove that women aren't that interested in men. He states that this data goes back 70,000 years, but I'm not sure where he got that number from because the article he references doesn't say that number anywhere in it. My hypothesis is he pulled it out of his arse. According to Myron, this 70,000-year-old data indicates, and indicate is another word that I never want to see in scientific data, that disinterest in men is hardwired into women's genetic code. Imagine coping so hard that you think that because women don't like you that it must be a universal thing. It couldn't possibly be that you're a slimy, terrible person. That's strike one. So Myron's second piece of data that proves that women don't really like men is the differences in female and male sex drives. Because sex is the most important thing to men, and the only reason women and men get together, and oh my God, I've just realized that aliens exist, because of course aliens exist. See, if you weren't from this world and you've only been on Earth for 1 year and you only did your research by reading BuzzFeed article, you would think exactly like Myron. Myron is a lizard alien in a badly made skin suit, and you can't convince me otherwise. He goes on to say that sex drive is not easily measured, but then goes and pulls a bunch of numbers out from his ass to measure sex drive. He's even put bullet points next to it, so his readers think he did something. He talks about sex rates between gay and lesbian couples, and I guess if anyone knows about gay sex, it's Myron. He states that gay couples have sex about 6.5 times more frequently than lesbian couples, indicating women's interest in sex is only 15% of men's. There's that word again. Indicate. Myron has a citation here, and it's from an article in Psychology Today, so let's have a butcher's at that, shall we? It's an article about how frequently couples have sex before and after commitment, and the only bit that mentions anything close to what Myron is saying is this bit here, where it says 6 to 7% of gay couples had sex 3 more times a week or more in the first 2 years of the relationship, compared to heterosexual couples, which is 45%, and lesbians at 33%. This study states that the numbers go down after 10 years of being together. This article says nothing about women liking men, so this citation was taken out of context. That's strike two, Myron. So Myron, are you just extrapolating here about the gay sex, or are you speaking from personal experience? Oh, and speaking of gay sex, Myron also says this.
I've theorized that if you take the average net worth of a heterosexual guy versus the average net worth of a homosexual guy, guaranteed the net worth of a homosexual guy is higher. And he was like, no, that's actually true.
Why would that be?
Well, because they don't deal with women.
Why are you gay?
So they can just get on Grindr, get what the hell they need done, and then go right back to work, and then keep.
It's more transactional.
It's quicker, more transactional,
Yeah.
and then also when two men deal with each other,
Less effort.
it's less effort, and
Pause.
then they're splitting everything down the middle. And I thought to myself, damn, like that's crazy because homosexual dudes get way more sex than heterosexual guys, but they're still able to be productive. Why is that?
You are gay.
If you get the same sexual gratification of dealing with a woman that you're dealing with a guy, human beings are intrinsically lazy creatures. You want to go with the path of least resistance. There's a reason why we have technology and all these modern conveniences to make life easier, right? If you get sexual satisfaction from dudes and chicks, well, what's easier to get? Dudes. Why the hell are you going to go through the effort of courting a girl, spending money, having to meet all these prerequisites when you can go ahead and just smash a guy and be done with it?
Doesn't that make you gay?
So I'm just going to leave that there. Hey, you know, that reminds me of someone.
Whereas Megan Fox, okay, he's got a but maybe you can like scoot it out the way. I mean, still Megan Fox.
So the second bullet point states that testosterone levels can be used to measure sex drive, putting women's interest in sex at only 6.7% of men's. You know, I'm just going to ignore that earlier on this very page, Myron was saying that sex drive is not so easily measured. And I'm just going to take a look at the citation he provided to determine how he came to this conclusion. So Myron cites a study in the National Library of Medicine that talks about testosterone in relation to athletic performance between men and women. This was a very, very long study to go through, and it says nothing about women's interest in sex. That's strike three, Myron. I think it's safe to hypothesize that the rest of the citations you have in this pamphlet is out of context and completely useless. So I'm going to stop creating more work for myself from here on out. You know, in writing this book, you're either lazy and you think your readers are also lazy and won't check your sources, or you're dishonest and you think your audience are lazy and won't check your sources. Either way, I think you might be right about your fans. So other things that prove to Myron that women have no interest in sex is that women consume less porn than men, and only 20% of prostitutes are men. And a study from the 1970s that said that women didn't like being bluntly propositioned. For someone who goes on and on and on about the differences between men and women, Myron really lacks perspective. To him, because women don't approach sex the same way as men indicates a lack of interest. Well, to me, the way Myron approaches reality indicates a lack of brain cells. So he goes on to say that if his facts didn't convince you, that perhaps an outdated study from OkCupid and an insight oh my God. An insight graph from Tinder to see women's genuine disinterest in men might, okay, 1. Tinder isn't real life, and it's mostly populated by guys like you and other members of the war room. See, I've never used Tinder, but I'll wager women are afraid of ending up on a date with a closeted man that really hates women. Hey, like you, Myron. Or worse, end up being trafficked by a student of Iggy Semmelweis. You know, getting worthwhile relationships that lead to commitment is actually really rare on apps like Tinder. They have no bearing on the real world, where it's not only men with Bugattis getting wives, okay? Because in case you haven't noticed, the poor are actually outbreeding the rich, so you can take your Tinder graph and shove it. But literally on the next page, he admits that online dating isn't the real world, but for young people, it increasingly is. But rather than tell his young male fans to go out into the real world where they might have a better chance, he talks about women's actions. When's the last time, if ever, a girl asked you out, took you out to dinner, or initiated contact for any social, romantic, or sexual interaction? Did a girl offer to pay off your student loans, buy you a car, or help you out in any way? But according to you, Myron, those things are masculine traits because men lead and provide resources, right? So is Myron better because he wants to be the girl? It seems like a girl never bought him flowers and is really coping about it. Is that what this book is about, Myron? You coping? If you just learned to have a better personality and took care of your trauma, you might not have to trick girls off sugar daddy websites. Pathetic. So here he tries to convince us with more facts. Apparently Gen Z women rank men 7th place behind living their lives and being their best selves. And millennial women, and I quote, whose youth and beauty have long left them, still don't want you, Myron. Cry about it. So Gen Z women don't want you. Millennial women who have hit the wall, according to you, don't want you. YouTube doesn't want you. Hell, even the location where you film your crappy podcasts don't want you.
Saving children, right? That was great.
Really, nigga?
Honestly, you should win awards for your lack of self-awareness. It's like nothing I've ever seen. And the way you're going, Myron, you're going to get to the end of your run pretty quickly. And my only hope is when you do crash and burn, which will be sooner rather than later, you'll take some of the red pill losers with you, and this weird hold and spell you have over young men will finally be broken, and they can maybe live something that resembles a normal life. Because teaching a generation of young men that the only reason they don't succeed with women is because women don't like men in general is the most divisive thing you can instill into a young mind. Instead of teaching young men to learn from their mistakes and keep trying and never give up and all that positive stuff, you're telling them that half of the population hates them. This book will just teach them to be bitter about half of the population and everybody will end up alone. Or gay, if Myron has anything to do with it. So it turns out the little rant I just went on was apt, because this next section here is titled Making Things Worse and Further Complicating Matters. And here he has a little disclaimer and said that he doesn't once say that women don't like men. He just says that women weren't as interested in men. Of course women still like men, just the top tier ones. So Myron once again refers to that genetic record that he pulled out of his ass earlier to state that women only breed with superior men. And apparently women used to have attainable standards, and that if a man worked hard, stayed in shape, and provided resources, he was just guaranteed a wife. He doesn't once mention being a caring, loving husband, by the way. So according to Myron, you can beat your wife into a coma every week, but as long as you provide resources, you're golden. So in times past, economic necessity would force women to the bargaining table where they would have to reconcile what they'd like versus what was available in terms of men. Well, did women have a choice or didn't they? Turns out women were picky but had to compromise, but thanks to the Infinity Gauntlet, they had the Industrial Revolution Stone, the Capitalism Stone, the Welfare Stone, which liberated women from men, and the Instagram Stone, which made women delusional and raised their standards. Things got ruined for Myron. All of these things are facts.
Why don't you back it up with a source?
Why, it's the recently demonetized After Hours Fresh and Fit podcast where Myron has made a female delusion calculator where all the women that get on consistently describe the ideal mate as earning 6 figures. But what Myron doesn't mention here is that the women he polls on his podcast are sugar babies and girls that do OnlyFans, you know, the most appropriate sample size of womanhood in general.
If you have a okay dick and you still can't fuck.
Yo, I ain't even trying to get too TMI. When you fucking a nigga sucking his dick, real rap, is your voice that fucking deep, or at least you got like the we're fucking voice?
Why, you want me to make a little bit of noise?
No,
like
I'm just saying. If I heard Pop Smoke talking from heaven while I'm stroking, I'm soft. Real rap.
But you have to lose some weight until you can see your dick, nigga. Like, you know what I'm saying? Everybody, bitches like fat niggas like you, so what's the problem?
Bitches love rich nigga like me.
Rich?
I bet your boyfriend ain't rich like me.
What's the matter?
I bet your boyfriend ain't rich like me.
But he can fuck me better than you would, so.
But I bet you live in a fucking Section 8 housing, and I live in a fucking mansion with
And what is the difference? Oh my God. You still unhappy because if you wasn't unhappy, you wasn't being aggressive and being rude.
I'm asking you, who said disrespectful?
It's mad disrespectful, boy. You've been disrespectful.
Stop it. Stop it. Yo, my nigga doesn't fuck you, nigga, like in the Airbnb. Get the fuck on out.
Actually, you should know him enough to know he's fucking cat.
Stop playing. Learn from Big Acting.
Yeah, I could see your pubes through your panties right now. I'm not gonna lie.
Like what are you gonna gain out of this? Like, what are you gaining from this? Like, I mean, again, I don't feel bad for anyone here, but as someone from the outside watching this is just cringy to watch, bro. Like, and for those of you dudes who are watching and you think that this is how you would talk to women in the real world, like, I don't even know what to tell you. I'm just glad I don't know you, bro, because I mean, it's wild. This is cringe. This is cringe. And that was it, right? And you would think that was it, right? You would think that, okay, DJ Academics, maybe he had too much to drink. It is what it is. And then, boom, all of a sudden he gets caught, all right? And this was after a Fresh and Fit podcast, basically getting in an argument with his girlfriend. Now, apparently the story behind this is that he was trying to break up a fight between him and a girl, or his girl and some other girl that he was dealing with, and then something led to another, and someone started swinging off of him, and then it just became, you know, a spectacle. Yeah, these are the high value women these guys love to hang around with, right? These are the high value, top quality women that these guys, I mean, they definitely don't date the horrible type of women that they telling you to stay clear of, right? They're definitely practicing what they're preaching to you guys.
Because you see, the only type of women that Myron can handle are the ones you have to pay. This type of women aren't interested in your hopes and dreams. They only care about the content of your wallet, if you know what I mean. They don't care about you, but they will hop on your podcast for clout and opportunity, and they'll even put up with being passed around like currency. These types of women aren't usually really familiar with the red pill and aren't very good at debating, but that isn't enough for Myron. He gives these girls alcohol to lower them as much as possible to guarantee his victory over them so that none of them can poke holes in his so-called logic. So what happens if an intelligent woman slips through the cracks and gets on the podcast and makes him look like a fool?
As you guys can tell, every dynamic with every human is completely different. You can make your own world with your own rules, and you can be happy as long as you're honest with yourself. So this conversation is not very valuable in any way, but it was very entertaining to be part of it.
That was very disrespectful.
You're saying that you're being useful through talking about those topics. But what if we talked about harmonizing this dynamic instead of shitting at each other and slamming each other and just finding the gray area that works for people and humans and working for a collective consciousness instead of just being at a war with our genres.
Okay, see, so let me be very honest about this. I get it, you know, the woo-woo, hunky-dory, kumbaya stuff, but problems don't get solved when you talk in circles like you do and not necessarily addressing problems and issues face-to-face. That's what we do on our podcast. We talk about issues, we say what it is, we confront it. You kind of dance around it. Oh no, it's okay. You make your own reality. You make your own world. Listen,
Yeah.
we live on planet
Creator
Earth,
of your own reality.
and there's
That's
things.
what you are.
See,
You're
this,
powerful, and don't let anyone else
this
tell
is ridiculous.
you otherwise.
This is what I'm trying to say when I say women live in a fantasy land a lot of times because of garbage like that. These women, they want a masculine, dominant man, not the guy that you got who's a fucking cuck. I think men and women are equal.
You
and I'm
are
trying to
at war
explain.
with
Hold on,
yourself.
stop.
So not until you work on that
Frank,
is
stop.
that
I'm
you're
talking,
actually going
I'm
to be
talking, I'm
honest
talking,
and you're going to make a point.
I'm talking, okay? I think if women listen to what we say, because we've saved a lot of relationships, saved a lot of men from killing
I
themselves.
think it's
saved
important
Yo, shut
because
up.
you're
Shut
able
the fuck
to-
up. When I'm talking, shut up. You understand? Shut the fuck up. This is not your podcast. It's
Why
not
do
your
you get
platform.
so triggered?
And if you don't like
We're
it, you
just
can leave.
talking.
No,
I'm not yelling
Because you're
at
talking
you.
when I'm talking. I'm addressing your point, and I'm giving you a response, and then you're just talking. So you're saying a bunch of bullshit that don't make fucking sense.
You're just repeating yourself.
And the women here, like I said before, might not necessarily want a soft and timid boyfriend like you got that lets you run around him and have open relationships. A lot of the women here want a dominant masculine man that could tell you to shut the fuck up because clearly your guy doesn't do it. You talk too much. All right?
So
That's
you
what it
guys
is.
want to be talked like this?
No, it's not
in
about
the
that.
future?
I have to assert my dominance on a fucking
Interesting.
masculine woman like you right now. That's what I have to do. And you can get up and leave at this point.
So,
No, you can get up and leave.
Yes,
Yeah,
thank you.
get up and leave.
I've been trying
Get up and
to.
leave. Get up and leave.
You guys are amazing, and just don't forget.
Turner,
don't let anyone tell
get up
you
and leave.
otherwise.
Just get up and get the fuck out of here.
Bye,
Just
Felicia.
get the fuck out of here. Get the fuck out of here.
Nobody cares.
Door's right there. Just leave. Just leave. Just leave. Just leave. Just leave. Leave. Just leave. Just leave. Just leave. Get the fuck out of here.
Yo, even in Colombia, Frank Castle,
yo,
bro.
She don't want to leave. Just
Oh
like,
my
yo, clown
goodness.
world, bro. Yeah, just leave. No, just get out of here. I need you. You need to back up. You need to back away
Where's
from
the
me.
crystals, lady?
You need to back away from me. You need to back away
Crystals.
from me. No. You just need to. You don't touch me. Just leave. You're a weirdo. You're a weirdo. Just leave.
He completely falls apart when someone doesn't agree with him. So here he just keeps lamenting the internet and the freedom and choice it's giving women. You know, the choice not to feel trapped in abusive marriages and be people as opposed to property, and have a bit of discernment about who they spend their lives with. But Myron actually sees this as it's spoiling women to the point of no longer being capable of forming bonding, loving, committed relationships. And worst of all, women were picky before, but now women are really, really picky. Yeah, primal. So he makes a list of 7 ways the internet has changed dating forever. 1. The Instagram thoughts are more interested in the top 1% of men. Women on OkCupid only find 20% of men attractive, and girls on Snapchat only like 10% of men. Not once do they make any reference to the real world because Myron doesn't know what that is, so therefore it doesn't exist. 2. The goalpost of women being picky is moving faster than Myron can grift money off his followers to raise his market value, especially now that it's been demonetized, and it's stressing him out a little bit. I feel like the 3 points I just read are him just saying the same things in slightly different ways. It reads like someone trying to pad out their dissertation. Do you know what I mean? Point 4 talks about runaway hypergamy, which is where a woman will never settle because she'll always be looking for a better option. Keep in mind he's extrapolating this from data that he got from dating sites. So dating sites in general are pretty dehumanizing before we start talking about Tinder, where you can literally order companionship like it's fast food. So yeah, on those sites that are designed to keep you swiping and to keep you on the dating racetrack, everybody's going to be addicted and looking for the next fix. It's a lot like gambling, and some people will win some of the time, but ultimately the house wins. Unfortunately, the house doesn't win when the customers get married and no longer have a need for their sites. Myron, mate, you're angry at the wrong thing. So instead of calling out the ways these sites make companionship a commodity, Myron instead decides to get ass mad at the girl on Instagram who has hundreds of messages in her inbox telling her how beautiful she is, with hundreds more trying to slide into her DMs to tell her how beautiful she is, and her internet social circle telling her how beautiful she is. So because she's less likely to go for someone like Myron, Myron insists that this girl is average. But Myron, my G, the girl you've just described isn't average. The average woman on Instagram doesn't have hundreds of DMs telling her she's beautiful. This is just the kind of woman you feel entitled to, and you're bitter because they don't want you. So you want to negotiate them down to your level because you have absolutely nothing going for you. And honestly, dude, if Instagram is the thing stopping you from forming a loving bond and getting into a committed relationship with a female, it sounds like a skill issue. So point 5 is about how the quality of women will decline, and because women used to be sweet and feminine, but now women are obese or worse, have tattoos and piercings, I feel called out. Are vapid and arrogant and vindictive. And any woman that gets with Myron cannot be vapid, arrogant, and vindictive, because only Myron gets to do that. So point 6 is about how women can earn a living in many different ways now. And technology allows women to have ways to support themselves. There's the welfare state. And through sites like OnlyFans and Chatterbait, women can use their sexuality to get money from men without committing to them. And it's funny that Myron laments simp culture and sites like OnlyFans and Chatterbait, because haven't the two men he listed in the beginning of his book as an inspiration been making this particular problem worse and profiting off it? Or is it okay because the women are being exploited and their money ultimately ends up in the hands of a man? And before you all say, oh, this book was written before all the stuff about Andrew Tate came out, Myron couldn't possibly have known, to that I say this.
You're wrong, and you're a grotesquely ugly freak. Thanks.
Andrew Tate has been self-snitching for years, and the Fresh and Fit podcast is one of the first podcasts that skyrocketed Andrew's fame.
Bro, Fresh and Fit blew Abbott and Preach. Fresh and Fit blew Kevin Samuel. Fresh and Fit blew Andrew Tate. Fresh and Fit blew Jay Waller. The people that come inside of Fresh and Fit, men after men after men after men.
Hey, yo, what the fuck?
And he did a lot of self-snitching on that podcast. Like, a lot.
All right, let me tell you the whole story. Let me tell out in public.
Let's
why I
go
left
down memory
England.
lane.
Let's go down. Let me give out all my world secrets. Because I'm on my biggest podcast yet, so I might as well tell all my secrets, right?
There you go.
So finally, in point 7, Myron refers to the junk mail effect, where he says that men, because they're slaves to their sex drive, will inundate women with messages and offers of sex, like junk mail. So he's saying men's approach to women these days is like junk mail, but he slags women off for not wanting to dig through said junk mail. This idiot's just talking out of both sides of his mouth, isn't he? He quickly pivots back and says that Western women don't really have any problems and we just want the world to cater to our whims, because all Western women blame the patriarchy and insert third-wave feminist straw man here. So Myron concludes his chapter by saying that the 7 points have resulted in a slippery slope environment where asking a woman out can be harassment. Well, it depends on how you're doing it, Myron. So basically, he tells his male readers to indeed ask women out, but if they try, it might be considered as harassment and the men might get their lives ruined. Because women just aren't that into men and are just annoyed at men all the time, you know, because of that junk mail effect we mentioned earlier. It says here, and I quote, "Women are antagonistic and hostile if you approach them." According to Myron, women are just feral animals, apparently. But because men are just so controlled by their sex urges and are so desperate to stick their pee-pee in these feral animals known as women, the only way to ensnare an already annoyed, antagonistic and hostile woman is to get into the top percentile of the men that they do like and not cry about it, like Myron himself has been this entire book. So that's the end of that chapter. Bloody hell, is this terrible advice for men? Myron constantly talks about his work helping men.
When you guys send me your DMs and say, yo, you saved my life. Yo, you send me a picture of your credit score. Yo, my girl is making sandwiches now, or whatever it is, right?
What?
But I reckon he's more likely helped more men off the mortal fucking coil than anything. Because how are you going to read this book and have any hope? Put aside the fact that this advice is being given by a man who needs to use his money to get women to talk to him in the first place. But what are the odds that men who read this are gonna get into the top 20 percentile of men that women apparently like? And what does that even mean? Is it a money thing, like being like Andrew Tate, or like any of the guys you listed at the beginning of your book? But all of these guys are creepy losers, and the only thing stopping them from disappearing into a goon cave is the fact that they've all somehow made money. I mean, this chapter started with a quote from a 52-year-old man who was recently caught soliciting nudes from a woman half his age. All these men are pathetic, Myron is pathetic, and all the men who believe in him at this point are brainwashed. And all I can do is hope that these men are able to break free from this weird spell and just go outside. This chapter was 9 pages and it literally can be boiled down to, where these attractive gold-digging hoes won't fuck me, how dare they, don't they know they're average? The rest of you guys, you can ask women out, but know that they don't really like you and they will never really love you. Yo, by the way, did you know that gay men have more sex? Hey, how much do you want to bet that now that Myron's been demonetized, he'll stop pretending to be straight and start his trans arc and start telling his fans, if you can't get a girlfriend, be the girlfriend. On a serious note though, I'm pretty sure I've said this in every video, but Myron is a grifter and has absolutely no principles. So I believe he'll do anything for money, like the OnlyFans girls he berates on his show. And if, by some small chance, there's a fan of Myron watching this video and you've made it to this point, I know you're seething and you don't want to listen to me, but don't worry, I'm gonna piss off and my next installment will come out when it comes out. I have no schedule because this isn't my job. But before I end this video, here are some men with penises to tell you about yourself. And hopefully you'll learn something. Doubt it though.
Oscar Perez, shout out to you for the 2,000 super chat. Says Byron compared women to terrorists. By the way, I can see why he's scared shitless. Like it makes so much sense.
Like, I don't care about rizzing girls up. I'm just like, okay, this is how I am. Take it or leave it. I'm not gonna lie about certain things. I'm just gonna call it like it is.
Well, why don't you see like what your Riz is like? See if you
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about, Sneeko.
There is no riz. It's my way or the highway.
What you mean? Wait, whoa, hey, yo, for those of you guys, if you bought the course from these people, that last statement should be very, very alarming to you because what you effectively just heard, it's a guy who spent over 2-3 years making millions of dollars off of selling you courses on game, even writing books and shit like that. Just basically just said, yeah, there's no risk. I ain't got no risk. I'm letting you know right now. I'm a bomb, dog. Please don't put me up here. It's not gonna look good, okay? That's what he's letting y'all know. That's crazy. Imagine you paid this guy $800 to learn how to get girls, and you're watching this embarrassment unfold. Just talking about, yeah, I ain't got no risk, bro. I'm gonna just be real with you. I got no riz.
Any riz?
No riz, bro.
No riz.
If you're a Red Pill fan and you stuck around like Destiny's got reasonable takes, now you're gonna hear the real fucking takes. Okay? You guys hate sex. You don't have sex. If you do, you suck shit at sex. And I think a lot of these people are buying fucking escorts and prostitutes. They're getting on these fucking apps and getting them. And you guys are just fucking weird about it. Out of here. Red Pill people and sex is the cringiest shit in the world. All of it is gross and disgusting. And the saddest thing in the world too is how every single movement that revolves around hating women ultimately relies on the validation that you get from those women. It is the saddest thing in the world. You guys would rather walk into a club with 4 hot chicks than 2 Bugattis outside, both in your name, because you think the validation you get from women is so fucking important to justify. Like it is. And the saddest thing too is I think it's only like me and like maybe 5 or 10%. I don't know how many people are actually confident or actually masculine or actually have an idea of like where they stand in the world so they can perceive these things. It's crazy to me that you see people like Zerka or these guys with all these girls on screen. You're like, wow, those guys are so cool. And if you're a guy that actually fucks or like has something in life or has some kind of meaning or purpose or isn't a destitute loser, you look at it and it's so obvious. It's the equivalent of like buying like a $2 million Rolex when you have a net worth of negative $1 million. It's like, bro, how much validation do you need? Are you okay? Do you need to scream to the whole fucking world that you've got like a chick with you? Like, is that how rare it is? Is that how uncommon it is? Is that how important it is for you to know that everybody else knows you're getting laid? Like, who the cares? It is so unbelievably fucking cringe. Oh my God, it is so cringe. I'm so over it. I'm so over all of it.
Where's your self-recocking spect?